Welcome to a new edition of Harness Central. I'm Harold Howe. Today I'm at Grand River Raceway where Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne has called a press conference to confirm that the Ontario government is putting together a 5-year plan they're claiming to be the sustainable platform for harness racing. We've got her remarks and also some thoughts of some attendees. Okay, to get a reaction to Premier Wynne's details today, if there were some details, is Bill O'Donnell of COSA. As I said, Bill, I see it as having more questions today than before I came. It was a little bit lacking in substance, wasn't it?
Well, for me, it's not nearly as good as it was 2 years ago, but it's a whole lot better than it was a year ago when we first got the announcement. And it's I guess you just put the pool of money to amount of race dates, or take out what's going to be for sire stakes, and they've committed $30 million a year to that too. So
let's break it down. First of all, sire stake money for the standardbred people for 2014. What are we looking at?
For 15 million. It's 30 million for all three breeds, and we the standardbred industry got 15 million for 2013.
So roughly the same as it is this year.
Is this year only? The only difference is now, Harold, would be there's fewer foals coming. Like 2012, they bred. 2011 they bred 4,000 mares. 2012 2,800. 2013 it's going to be somewhere around 1,500. So if you take that pool of 30 million over 5 years and kind of prorate it a little bit. And I hope that you can up the 15 million to maybe 20 for the next 2 years, and that would give you a little less money on the other end, but keep it going for the 5 years, right. I think.
And 400 million from the government over 5 years is roughly 80 million a year for the rest of racing.
Right.
But how do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. That's the whole thing. As horse people, we the most important thing to us are two things: race dates and what the purse money is. They're all lacking right now, right? I mean, you don't know how many we have. There's been nothing, no real foundation for that yet. So, but there's a lot of work to be done yet. I mean, it's at least
you get a sense of the number of race days. What are you hearing behind the scenes?
700.
For standardbred,
hopefully,
and
maybe 800 total. Maybe 600. Maybe.
Right. And we're still not clear who's racing.
Have to make a business case, right? I mean, that's another thing. It's not going to be just like it was before, where there was your race from your slot money
and who makes the business case that's decided by who?
Well, Ted Clark will make the business case for Grand River, but who decides that? I think. John Wilkinson would be the head of that, from the sound of Premier Wynne, right?
Right. And where is something like COSA left in all this?
Well, in the original draft report, or draft plan report, that they recommend one association for the province. So how they come to that, I have no idea. I suspect that they'd want to have a new one, I guess. I don't know. We haven't never been approached or anything about that.
And the idea, this is all going to kick in April. The beginning of a 5-year plan. So we've got 5-6 months to pull this all together.
Yeah, I guess.
I know. I'm just, I guess, putting you on the spot here. I'm just trying to decipher this because we've just sort of been given bits and pieces, and it's hard to connect the dots.
Maybe there's more put together than we know. We just haven't been given all that information yet. But I'm sure there's lots of work been done on it now with the Alliance of Racetracks, and it's probably further down the road than we suspect, I guess. I hope it is anyway, because 5 months is not a whole long time.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thanks very much, and we'll see what else we can dig out.
My pleasure.
Okay.
See ya.
We're now here with Glenn Secura of Hill and Dale Farm, thoroughbred breeder, arguably Canada's biggest now. You gave us a pretty impassioned letter here a few weeks ago about your thoughts of the state of things in the wake of the thoroughbred sale, which is down for another year, double digits. How do you feel today after hearing what we just heard?
There's just not enough specifics really to have a real warm and comfortable feeling just yet, but I'm glad they're working on something. We need to sit down, and it's been my contention and that of the people that I represent, that there needs to be some direct funding to the breeds, to the breeders of the province.
Are we not in a situation where we're left wondering? They keep talking about the business model and sustainability and whatnot, but when you look at the nuts and bolts of it from someone who puts a lot of money into the game, where is a sensible business model here?
As far as the breeding end of things, I hate to say it, but the sensible breeding model is to breed your horse to American stallions and go down and sell in the United States. But that's not the model that I want to live by, and that's not the model that any number of people that breed horses in the province want to live by, or in some cases can afford to live by.
We're also left with not knowing how many days of racing. On the standardbred side, who's going to be racing? I guess to sum it up, is it just a case of the devil in the details?
There's a lot of detail yet to come out, and looks like from the thoroughbred industry we're in trouble with Fort Erie once again, so that's harmful to everybody that does what we do for a living as well.
Glenn, thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
We're here now with Sue Leslie of Oriah. Sue, I know you're beaten down by 18 months of this carry on over where racing's going. What did you get out of today that you didn't already know?
Well, Harold, obviously we've got to spend a lot more time analyzing the plan, but I do view today as a positive. I think the industry has to look back and see where we were 18 months ago, which was zero, right? And we were that way for a long time. And the more we deal with the government, I still believe, as I've said before, this Premier is very determined to make sure that horse racing sustains. And I know that, the plan on the surface isn't going to make everybody happy, that's for sure. And we've got a lot of work to do, and the integration is still up in the air, and that's such a key thing, because that's where new revenue streams going to come from. And new revenue streams is what can create the opportunity for example, Fort Erie or on the standardbred side, the tracks that aren't within the alliance. As new products come on, that's going to create new revenue for them. So I think I wish there had been a little bit more today about how integration is going to happen and what the forecasts are in terms of revenue for the industry for that. But they have increased their commitment to the industry from 60 million to 80 million. I think that the restructuring of the Ontario Racing Commission, I view that as a positive thing. So it's not everything we all had hoped for, but it's a whole lot more than where we were. And because we now, I believe, have a good relationship with government, we can at least keep working towards improving where we're at. Like, I don't think this is it, this is the end of the story. I think this is going to be an ongoing project for the industry and the government and the ORC and the OLG. We've all got to work together as a team. And I think if we do that and we continue to be firm in our position, but a cooperative partner, we can even grow this more and get things even a little better than where we are.
There's a lot of questions remaining, but one of them that I thought was an interesting one that was presented to me was this plan kicks in April, correct?
Yeah.
For 5 years. All the talk is the smart money saying there will be a provincial election in the spring. Mm-hmm. Could that be a game changer to this plan, or is this plan good to go?
I think this plan is good to go. I mean, certainly with an election coming, there are some unknowns, but if everything gets done over the next 6 months, which I anticipate it will, I think this will kick in April 1. I don't see there being an election before April 1. So I think the plan will be in place and go forward at that point. Once an election happens, if there's a new party that's governing, then obviously they're going to, review the program that's been put in by the Liberals, and we'll be meeting with them to start over again. But I think that the relationship that the industry has, both with the NDP and the PCs, in addition to the Liberals, I think we have an engaged relationship with all three parties. And so no matter who ends up in power, I think that there's enough of an agreement on the importance of the industry within the province that no matter what party's in power, we've got to make every effort to work with them, and I think we've got the groundwork laid for that.
And whether it be thoroughbred or whether it be standardbred, the rush right now is to figure out who's racing, when they're racing, how the money's going to be divvied up, sire stakes, and I mean, this has to be done, relatively quickly because the new year's almost here. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. And there's a tremendous amount of work to be done. But I think, again, that we've got the right people in place. I know that Elmer Buchanan, as our new chair at the commission, is going to work very hard with Steve Lehman, the executive director. I've spoken to both of them. They're going to push this along. They're not going to dilly-dally, and I believe because they've been instructed by the Premier to do that. So I think, they're obviously going to be key. John Wilkinson is going to be working hard with the OLG on the integration issue, and John has been known to get things done. And of course, John Snowbelin, who's going to coordinate all these changes with the ORC, head up the OLR to work with the breed divisions, on the many issues that the details have to be worked out on. So I think we've got some leadership that will push this along quickly. It is a lot to do by April 1, and whether we can get every last detail hammered out, I don't know. But I think that everyone is pushing in the same direction now. So fingers crossed.
Thanks for your thoughts, Sue.
Okay, thanks,
Right.
Harold.
So there you have it. The plan the Premier has put forward maybe has more questions than answers. There's a lot of work still to be done, and we'll just have to stay tuned. This is Harold Howe giving you the Harness Racing Edge.